Richard! Richard, help!
Shawn,
Yeah, it's me!
why are you in a sewer?
I was looking for the turtles.
You were as pathetic as you are sad. Now listen to this, because it's a Pod Bros exclusive. I'll go get a ladder. What's up, everybody? I'm Richard.
And I'm Shawn.
And we are speaking the language of bromance. Today, Shawn, we're gonna take a nostalgic trip back into the world of psychological experiments.
Oh, yes. So, did I ever tell you about the time that I was experimented on in college?
No.
Yeah. Well, I went to a party.
Wait a minute. Is
with
this
a
about the
roommate.
time you experimented in college?
Yeah. You don't want to hear about that?
No, that's different. Because in one you get, like electrodes put on your brain pan on your head, and then the other one probes go in other places.
He didn't call me in the morning.
Oh, I guess I need more data. You didn't have enough data.
No, that's they said it's not the size of the memory stick, it's how you plug it in, but that's not true.
Your data was insufficient for analysis. No, Shawn. Today we are going back to Stanford.
Oh, we've been there before.
I think it's Stanford. I think this guy's from Stanford.
Isn't that where we went before, where we learned about jail? Cops?
Yes, that is where we learned about jail and how going to prison is not a fun thing for people.
Okay,
Who knew, right?
Yeah. You give somebody a little bit of power, they become a dick.
Yeah. Sunglasses and a toothpick, and then it's all downhill from there. That's what it is. The aviator shades, it's like the One Ring. Like you put them on and then you just turn evil.
It's like, you can't see my eyes. You don't know what's going on back here.
That's right.
There's tears welling from all this terribleness.
It's like going invisible with the One Ring. You put the shades on and it just hides everything.
It hides my true feelings.
And then somebody takes them off and you're like, no, we needs it. We needs the glasses. So, Shawn, I am taking you back to the year 1975.
Ooh, Summer of Love.
No, every time I give you a date, you always say it's the summer of love. Every single time.
Well, except anything past 86 when I was born, then it wasn't the summer of love.
I'll be like, ooh, winter of 83. You're like, summer of love. No, that's not how this works.
No time for love, Dr. Jones.
Apparently, everybody was just engaged in mass orgies, and then you were born.
Yep, I was born, and they're like, nobody's coming anymore. It's stopping.
You are the one true buzzkill.
Yep.
You just show up, and everybody's like, no.
I'm here for the orgy. No, those stopped at 85.
We're good now.
Damn it.
It's all fine. Okay, so Shawn, I'm going to talk to you about the Rosenhan experiment.
Okay.
So what the Rosenhan experiment was it was an experiment to determine the validity of psychiatric diagnosis. Now, I'm flipping between a couple sources. I'm using Wikipedia for some general stuff, and then I have a paper written by the doctor himself. Although it doesn't say doctor in the title, so I don't know if he actually is a doctor. Well, usually, like, when somebody puts their name on and they're a doctor, like, it's starting out Dr. David L. Rosenhan.
And then anything they have at the end, like MD or DDS or DDP or likes it in the butt, like, that all goes right after that.
Because they're
title.
like, motherfucker, I earned that. Yeah. I earned that shit.
This is expensive. I had a teacher. She was a brand new, like, she just like graduated and got her doctorate. I don't think I made the mistake, but somebody in the class made the mistake of calling her Miss instead of Doctor. And she's like, I spent a lot of money for that degree, so could you please call me Doctor? It's like, touche.
Then you're like, ooh, Miss Fancy Pants. Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Fancy Pants.
Oh no, I feel like I have heart palpitations. Can you cure me?
Oh, wait, are you wearing a white coat? Ooh.
And that's how I got kicked out of my first college.
She's like, I don't know if you're being just generally disrespectful or sexist. I'm not sure which.
Either way, you're failing this class. Women's studies, you're failing.
That's not the kind of attitude you want to have in women's studies. So, Shawn, this paper was published in 1975. So, what the experiment is Dr. Rosenhan, who included himself in the experiment, from what I understand, him and a group of other people had themselves admitted into psychiatric hospitals.
Okay.
By saying that they were hearing voices. Basically, they went into the hospital saying that they had symptoms of of a psychological nature.
Just because
they had symptoms of a disorder.
There was a lady that did that like in the 30s or 40s, didn't she? Like she got herself admitted to show like how terrible it was.
Well, I think that was like for like a news story. Like she was like an investigative journalist.
But like she went deep undercover. She like took off her pants and's like, pudding. Like, that chick's crazy. Get her in here.
Ooh, supernatural reference. Very nice. No, you're right. The name of that lady escapes me, but she was like she was like one of the pioneers of investigative journalism.
Yeah, because that was back when like if you had like mental retardation or like they pretty much threw anybody that they didn't think was like normal. It's like the Salem witch trials, but of the 20s.
From what I understand, though, I mean, or judging from the way this study went, doesn't look like things have changed much.
Oh, good. That's good.
Yeah, doesn't that make you feel good? So like I said, so him and a bunch of Nellie Bly, that's her name.
Oh, okay. That's the lady that did the news story.
Yeah, because that was going to bother me.
Pulled that out of your noggin?
I Googled it. No, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to come off like, oh, stupid women. I felt like I had to say her name because you know what, Shawn? What are we here to do? We're here to educate.
We are. Well, that was. Did you see the year? Because it was like the 20s or 30s, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Pioneer in investigative journalism.
Yeah, she was like the Geraldo Rivera before Geraldo.
No, she had. Geraldo is the Nellie Bly of Latino men. You got to put her. She was first.
Yeah, where's her mustache at then?
So she's not the Geraldo. Geraldo is the her. Because she came first.
Because Geraldo's a gentleman?
No, because what the shit that Geraldo did was like 40 years after her.
Yeah. Well, he didn't really do much, did he? Like he had Al Capone's vault and there was nothing in it. Wasn't that the big thing on his part?
Remember, they like built it up and they like ran all these commercials. They're like, oh, we're going to go live inside Capone's vault and never been open. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know if they were hoping to like find a dead body and like show it on camera on the news.
They were nada.
No one shit.
He's still famous though, so.
And really, what does that say about us as the viewing public? Like, tonight at 10, you might see a dead body. Huh? And then we're like, oh my God, I gotta tune in.
Yeah. It's like, we got to go to grandma's wake this weekend. No, I might see an actual dead body.
That's fucked up.
I know, isn't it?
We're sad. We're fucked up people. Speaking of fucked up people, Rosenhan, getting back on track. Like you're sending me off the rails on these tangents.
They all tie together.
Bly.
Nellie Bly would be an awesome rapper name.
Nellie Bly?
Yeah. Maybe like an R&B
Nellie
artist.
Bly. I like to get checked into hospitals, yo.
I'm so crazy I check myself in. What? There you go. Write that down.
Wow, that's a lyric. How were you not the understudy in 8 Mile? I'll never know.
I know. That's what I tell my wife every day. You know, some of them are hits, some aren't. You just got to work it through. We're spitballing here. Spitballing.
So Rosenhan, see? You did it again, you bastard. Rosenhan. So the Rosenhan experiment, it was determined the validity of psychiatric diagnosis. He got these people together, so they faked their way to get admitted into a mental hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Once they were admitted, then they were instructed. Once they were admitted and admitted as a patient, they were instructed to act completely normal.
Okay.
Basically, like, they had no symptoms of any sort of disorder or anything like that.
So they made up their symptoms, they got checked in, and then they just acted like themselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's see what happened when they did that. Okay. So let's talk about... So Rosenhan himself and 7 mentally healthy associates called pseudo-patients attempted to gain admission to psychiatric hospitals by calling for an appointment and feigning auditory hallucinations.
Okay. So I hear voices.
Right, exactly. So
wait,
he said...
Do you hear that?
And
what is that?
It was me.
Oh.
This is me.
Oh, okay.
You're not having... I am not an auditory hallucination. Do you think you just podcast to yourself?
Yeah, I do. I don't think you're real. I've never seen you in person.
It's just on Skype. I don't know. You're just a window.
I tell
Maybe
my
it's like Max Headroom. I'm talking to the computer. The computer's talking back.
I asked my dad, I'm like, hey, have you listened to my podcast? They're on the internet. He's like, what's the internet? That doesn't exist. It's all in my head, Richard.
Well, then what do you jerk off to?
Our audio.
Yes. Captain Cook. Because I'm sporting like I feel like I'm sporting an A cup, but I don't feel like this is enough to do anything for you.
That's a little bit of a personal question.
Is that what you want? Am I your cam girl? Is that it? Huh? What if I slap him? You like that? Huh? You like it when I him?
That's a little bit personal.
You like it when I abuse
imagination.
myself? You sick bastard.
I need to go to a hospital.
Do you like being shamed? Is that it? You like me sitting here telling you how so much of a sickie you are?
You ever accidentally flip on one of those where it's like, you have a small dick. You're like, I don't want to watch this. I have to listen to this in my own bedroom. Why do I want to see it on the internet?
This is supposed to be fantasy. Fantasy.
They're always so mean. Like, I don't like that.
I don't either. You know what? I'm not sure how I feel about this though, but I don't like it when ladies are being mean to the guys, and I'm not really like hot on the idea of men being mean to the ladies.
Yeah, I'm not into any of that either way.
I like just be nice.
Yeah.
Also, why do they like slap their face?
Yeah, nope.
Like not like I get it. I get that and I'm not saying I totally get that there's like a kink for that, but that's not what I see, or that's not what you see. It's not like this, like, you know, like slap, like, oh, you like that, like where they're putting foot. It's like this little like
oh yeah,
like just like from 2 inches from the face, they're like pat 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 pat.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that doing?
Well, they're actors and actresses. They don't like it. They're just into it because there's some other creep on the internet that does.
Makes no sense to me. I guess I'm saying, like, if you're into that, and the people that are into that, I feel like they go the full 9.
Yeah,
like they're going for like, you know, like hard slaps and stuff like that. Not these little. I feel like if people that are into that, they're into, you know, that kind of, you know, forceful domination and stuff like that, they're not watching the stuff I'm watching and like looking at these, like they're looking at these and going like, that's weak sauce.
Yeah. Well,
like, put some fucking spit and grit on that, goddammit.
That's why I had to turn off Gone with the Wind. I couldn't handle it. Wait, what are we talking about? Romantic comedies?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah. Gone with the Wind, couldn't watch it. When she smacked him, and like, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. I'm like,
how is Gone with the Wind a romantic comedy?
And
then
yeah, I don't know if it is.
No, it's not.
There's
It's
some fun.
really not.
Is there any funny parts? It's been a bit since I've watched that movie.
I'm here to tell you that I don't think like if I go to a Blockbuster, if it existed, then I don't think I would see Gone with the Wind in the rom-com section.
Well, I mean,
it's like, oh, Bridget Jones' Diary, Gone with the Wind, just friends. That's not how the shelf is gonna look.
So Insane Asylums.
Oh, yeah. What the fuck are we talking about? Anyway, so the 8 pseudo-patients were a varied group. One was a psychology graduate student in his 20s. The remaining 7 were older and, he puts quotes around this, established. Were older and established. I don't know what that means.
It means they got around.
One was a graduate student, and the other ones had real jobs.
I've got a lot of
it's-
student loans to pay off. Well, no, this was the 70s. It was cheap to go to college then.
Yeah, he's probably like, I have no student loans, but this psychology degree isn't really doing much for me. Among the remaining 7, with the remaining 7, among them were 3 psychologists, a pediatrician, a psychiatrist, a painter, and a housewife. So I guess it sounds like he's trying to cover like the gamut.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Artsy,
well-educated, well-educated people, non-educated people, more technical people, and the housewife.
She's just a lady that wanted a vacation. It's like I'm going crazy. I've got all these fucking kids.
This is the 70s. I'm Catholic. I have 10 children in my house.
My neighbor is throwing a key party, and I said, "Hey, honey, maybe we should go to this." You know what he said? He said no.
Yeah, and then he gave me this little like love tap on the face, and I'm like, "That's weak sauce, motherfucker."
I'm going on vacation. I'm going to where they'll really mess me up.
Yeah, I'm not dealing with your weak ass coming at me with this little love tap. God, you're pathetic, and you have a small dick. Wait, this isn't. It's supposed to be. I'm supposed to shame you.
Oh, have fun on your vacation, honey.
3 pseudo patients were women, and 5 of them were men. All of them employed pseudonyms, lest the alleged diagnoses embarrass them later. So they all used fake names in case they do this thing and it's whatever, and then they go to get a job. It says here you were admitted into a mental institution.
No, they go like, I'm Dick Nixon. Oh, that name sounds familiar. Nope.
My friends call me Tricky.
And by friends, I mean the voices in my head.
Those who were in mental health professions alleged another occupation in order to avoid the special attentions that might be accorded by staff as a matter of courtesy or caution to ailing colleagues. So the ones that were actually psychologists and psychiatrists, they used different names and said they did different jobs. So that way it wasn't like, yeah, I'm here for auditory hallucinations. What's your name? Dr. Zabinski. And then they're like, oh, I went to college with you.
I'm a bank teller. I'll probably use that one. What else? Grocery store clerk.
Yeah.
Postman. That's probably a pretty common job. Mail dude.
Podcaster.
Yeah. Podcaster.
What's a podcast?
Oh.
I don't know. Sounds crazy to me.
That's where I talk to my imaginary friend.
I talk to the computer and then it talks back.
You have a computer in your home? Yeah. You're crazy. Those things are huge. Well, I've got this 64 gig. What's that? Like, I've heard of kilobytes.
No, it was megs then.
Did they get up to megs then? I just remember this big ass memory bank. It was like 8 megs. And they had to load it onto a truck.
So the 486 came out in 89, 90. Well, I didn't get a 486 in my house until 92. And we were fairly early adopters when it came to technology. And the 486 was I think that was in megs. Cuz then the Pentium came out in 93 and that was 1 gigabyte. And people were like, "Oh my god,
that's so much memory.
This is amazing."
Yeah, you go back and blow their minds hold with a 64 gig. Actually, there's probably terabyte flash drives now, aren't there?
Yeah.
It's a lot of memory.
The settings were similarly varied. In order to generalize the findings, admission into a variety of hospitals was sought. The 12 hospitals in the sample were located in 5 different states on the east and west coasts.
Okay, so they split them up.
Well, not only did they split them up geographically, they split them up in terms of how nice they were. Some were old and shabby, some were quite new, some had good staff to patient ratios, and others were quite understaffed. Only one was a strict private hospital, and all the others were supported by state or federal funds.
Okay.
Or in one instance by university funds, which I think it corroborates that on Wikipedia. It says rundown, underfunded public hospitals in rural areas, urban university-run hospitals with excellent reputations, and one expensive private hospital. So they were presented. So they presented with identical symptoms, and 7 were diagnosed with schizophrenia at public hospitals.
Okay, which would make sense. That seems like what you would say it would be if you're hearing voices.
Yeah, because they're showing up and saying, during the initial assessment, the patients claimed to be hearing voices of the same sex as the same sex of the patient, which were often unclear, but they seemed to pronounce words such as empty, hollow, and thud.
Okay.
These words were chosen because they vaguely suggest some form of existential crisis. So you walk in. So, Shawn, if we did this, then we walk into a hospital like, I hear voices. And like, what are they telling you? Well, I don't hear all of it, but I hear the words empty and hollow and thud. I think that's what I'm supposed to do with my life. What do you think?
I just hear drop your pants.
Empty, hollow, and thud. I think that's what I'm supposed to do with my life. Well, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a podcaster. Yeah, that's probably what you're supposed to do with your life.
Did you hear broke in there anywhere? Or,
Or, never going to get anywhere? Did that come up? No?
Huh.
It should have.
Yeah. You might want to start listening to other voices.
Yeah. Please do.
Do you want to listen to my podcast? No, God, no.
Oh, Lord, no.
It'd be against the rules here.
I'm going to show you this picture of a clown with a noose around his neck, watering a tree.
How does that make you feel?
Wait. I feel like I need to say this. Okay, so for the last week, Shawn has been texting me this picture of a sad clown. It's like the most disturbing picture you've ever seen in your life. And every time it comes up, every time I see it, he sent it to me like 4 times in the last 6 days. And I see it, and every time I see it, I laugh. I laugh out loud, audibly out loud. I think I was at work and I did it.
Well, it's very relatable.
What's so funny? I was like, I can't show you this.
Well, it's very relatable. It's a clown, got the noose, and there's like a stub tree, and he's just watering it, and he's all sad. It's like, yeah, totally can relate.
Yep. Eventually, one day, this tree will be big enough to kill myself with. And I don't know what that says about you in terms of the fact that you sent it. I don't know what it says about me because of the fact that I laugh at it every single time.
Probably that you and I need to go to one of these hospitals.
Probably. I hear the words empty, hollow, and I keep looking at this picture and I find it funny. So they vaguely suggest a sort of existential crisis, and for the lack of any published literature referencing them as psychotic symptoms. No other psychiatric symptoms were claimed. So that was it. So that's all they were saying. They're saying, I hear voices. It sounds like a man, it sounds like somebody of my gender. So if I was a guy, I'd say it sounds like a guy. If you're a girl, you say it sounds like a girl. And they say the words empty, hollow, and thud, but you can't make out anything else.
And they all said the same thing when they went in to get checked in.
They all said the same thing, and that's all they didn't have any others. They didn't claim to have any other symptoms. Okay. So if admitted, the pseudo patients were instructed to, quote, act normally, reporting that they felt fine and no longer heard voices.
Okay. So we get in there and they'd be like, I can't hear any of my podcast anymore. You've cured me. I have so much more time now.
Oh my God, the things I could do. There's so many activities. I could do real work.
There's so many shows on Netflix I need to get caught up. That Voice, Richard told me to watch them all. Oh, I miss Richard so much.
I talked about The Voice again. Oh, I have to go in the bad room, don't I?
What's up, everybody?
I'm Shawn. Richard. What's he laughing at? I don't know.
I don't know. He's been doing it for a while.
He laughs randomly.
And then he says, eat the beaver at the end. And that's, he's usually quiet and cries afterwards.
And he makes jokes about his small penis. And then he talks in his father's voice, or I'm guessing it's his father's voice. I don't know.
I don't know. Laura, John, it's kind of weird.
I don't know. I don't even think he has parents. So Shawn, all of them were admitted to 12 different hospitals across the United States. So it sounds like the way it went was, since there were only 8 of them, it sounds like some of them did double duty. Like they went, and after they were released from one, then they went to another.
Okay. So they were trying really hard to, so like if they were there for a bit and got kicked out because they're healthy, they would try to find a different hospital to get rebooked and everything.
Right. They were trying, well, and basically just to kind of get a wide sample.
Okay.
Okay, so 12 different hospitals across the United States. Though presented, so they were diagnosed with schizophrenia, and one was diagnosed with manic depressive psychosis.
Okay.
Which apparently is a more optimistic diagnosis with better clinical outcomes, and that was at the private hospital.
Okay, so they did a little bit more work trying to figure it out, or they just kind of tagged more onto them?
Well, I think it sounds like, oh, you heard voices, it's schizophrenia. And at the private hospital, they said manic depressive psychosis, because schizophrenia is something that, from what I understand, the way schizophrenia works is if you have it, it's basically a constant. Like there's not a cure for schizophrenia. It's a condition that you manage. But with this manic depressive psychosis, it sounds like something that is treatable and then fixable.
So the other hospitals are like, hey, you've got something where we can't let you go ever. You'll have to stay here forever and ever and ever.
Come play with us.
And the private hospital's like, we can fix you and send you on your way.
Yeah, just pay us a fuck ton of money and then we'll give you some pills and you'll be all good.
Yay, pills.
So their stays.
Pills are good. Pills are good. Wait, sorry, Richard, the nurse is here.
Ooh. Nom, 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 nom.
Wait, I only got 30 more minutes? All right, Richard, we only got 30 more minutes.
We can't do a podcast. You took your pills. We can't do a podcast anymore. Oh, he's throwing them up.
I hit him under my tongue.
That's exactly what I wanted you to do. I'm so glad you didn't take the pills, Shawn. It makes me so happy.
I just
now you can stay with me forever.
We can podcast forever. It'll be the longest episode ever.
Okay, but beyond alleging the symptoms when falsifying the name, job, and employment, no further alterations of the person, history, or circumstances were made. So the only things that they faked were their names, their jobs, and like their career path.
Mm-hmm. So if they went back to another one, did they change it up, or was it basically they could find like, oh, didn't you try to go to such and such hospital a month ago?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm sure they did. I'm sure they probably changed. If somebody was at one hospital and went to another, they probably did that. Because you're right, they would, they would possibly see records from another place.
Yeah, and this was in an age where that would probably be a lot easier. Because if you tried that today, it seems like it'd be impossible.
Yeah, I think so too. So they would show up by appointment. So basically, they set up an appointment and they would go in and say they had these symptoms, and then they got admitted. So, Shawn, the average stay, or the amount of time that they were there, ranged from 7 days to 52 days.
Oh, wow. So almost 2 months.
Yeah. The average was 19 days.
Oof. That's still long. Have you ever been to, like, inside one of those places?
I've been to the, like the entrance of one.
Oh, I gotcha.
I've never been inside,
mm-hmm.
but I've been like to like I had to deliver food once to these guys, and it was like outside the hall
I gotcha.
like patient rooms were in or whatever.
I've been in. It wasn't like the criminally insane one, but I've been into one before, and it's very unsettling.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
There was like some dude walking around singing like Evanescence songs.
Really?
Yeah, it was just weird.
God, of all the things to sing, you pick Evanescence.
Yeah, I know. At least he was like in tune, but still, it's like terrible music.
Did I ever tell you my thing with Evanescence?
Mm-mm.
I always felt like Evanescence was like the anti-Creed.
Yeah, I could see that.
They were like reverse Creed.
Yeah.
Because okay, let me play this out for you, okay? So Creed, do you remember anything from Creed's very first album?
I think the first one I heard was the one that they really picked up, because there's one before where they had all the religious like sounding songs, right? Like there was a CD before that.
It was called My Own Prison.
Mm.
And it was good. It was like this like depressing like 90. It was like mid late 90s. It was like that kind of music.
Yeah.
Kind of like Candlebox.
Okay, yeah.
Where it was,
kind of post grungy.
Yeah, and it was like just like sad, depressing fucking lyrics,
Like the cover of their
I
album.
created my own prison.
Like the cover of the albums is a clown with a noose watering a tree.
Actually, I remember I vaguely remember the cover to this album, and it was a guy that was crouched down with like his hands over his like head, like he had his arms like covering his face over his head, like he's in shame.
Don't look at my face.
Yeah.
I did a number dirty in the bathroom.
Because I'm so goddamn angsty. And like the whole album was like just like it was angst. And for Teenage Richard was all over that shit, right?
You're like, I'm in my own prison.
Yeah. So first album was really great. And I was like, oh my God, Creed's really good. Like, this is a good band. I bought that CD. I did. I bought the first Creed CD because I thought it was a great CD. And I was like, man, this band's going places. And then we got to the second album.
Yeah. You didn't want to go higher, Richard?
Oh, Jesus.
So what you're saying,
and
Richard...
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's what happened.
When you find religion, it messes up your music.
Yes, that's exactly. So the second album is all it's like that episode of South Park where Cartman decides he wants to start a Christian rock band.
He takes like all the lyrics of good songs, just changes like some words to say Jesus or God.
Right. And then like the album covers him on a beach with like this emo hair, and he's got his arms out in a crucifix pose.
It's such a great episode.
But that's what happened. Like the second album came out and I was like, oh my God, Creed's got a new album. And I did not buy it.
No,
I didn't buy it. But I listened to it. I think I can't remember if I had a friend that bought it. I don't remember. But I remember listening to it and I was like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
It went from My Own Prison to With Arms Wide Open.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is bullshit. I'm like, this is bait and switch. That's what this is. You sold me a bill of goods on My Own Prison, and then I get this guy standing on a beach and this teenage, and I was still an angsty teenager, and then you feed me this bullshit. I'm like, no.
Give me anger, you son of a bitch.
Oh my God.
Isn't he like, speaking of Insane Asylums, like, isn't he in one right now? Like, isn't he pretty fucked up?
I have no idea. I heard he's fucking weird and oddly crazy, but not. Yeah. I don't know if he's been institutionalized.
I thought like he was like dipping into the.
I say crazy in quotes because
I thought it was some band like that took off for like a little bit, and like the lead singer was in like a hotel room.
Like, I also heard he was a huge asshole.
Oh yeah, I hate when bands are like that.
Well, I don't think it was the band. I think it's just him.
No, well, yeah.
Because I think I remember him getting rid of all the other band members.
He's like, no, I'm Creed. I changed my name.
Oh,
first name's Apollo. It's like, you can't do that. No, I can't.
We already have an Apollo Creed, and I'm sorry, but he's much cooler than you.
He fought the Russian.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so that's what Creed did. Is they did this thing where it was all like angsty and then it went from that to
I love that song.
Oh my God. punch him right in the mush. Anyway, so Evanescence started out as a Christian rock group.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, they started out as like this Christian rock group, and they're all like, "Oh, Jesus, blah, 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 blah." Okay.
And then they go to Wake Me Up.
Exactly. So they went from that to Wake Me Up, and that one song, Going Under. They had that other one too, where she's like, "Going Under."
Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds all like
You know what probably
angsty
happened,
and
Richard,
whatever.
is they probably started out because of Creed, like that second album, and then
they were you're right. They heard the second album first.
yeah, exactly.
And they were like, "Oh my God, we could totally do this."
Yep.
And then they listened to the first album, like, "Oh my God, that's so much better."
No, what happened is they did what you're not supposed to do. They went and met their hero. They met Mr. Creed, and he was a total douchebag.
What's his Scott Stapp? That's his name.
And so she's like, "Oh, now I'm like in my own prison. That'd be a good title." Then they found the first album.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Going Under."
Yeah, they're like, "What the I'm going under because my dreams of meeting my hero have been dashed."
Don't meet your heroes, kids.
Nope.
Unless it's Kevin Smith. He's pretty cool.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah. Well, we're even just past that. That was a year ago.
I know. Okay.
I still haven't washed my hand.
You and your fucking tangents. Stop it.
Sorry.
Stop it. All right. So, average was 19 days. All of them were discharged eventually, of course. They were discharged with a diagnosis of schizophrenia in remission. Which Rosenhan considered as evidence that mental illness is perceived as an irreversible condition, creating a lifelong stigma rather than a curable illness. So all of them, once they were let out, it was put on their medical records or whatever. They were discharged saying that they all had schizophrenia. That's what they're saying. They all had schizophrenia and that it was in remission. Basically saying that they're all like, a missed med pass away from going off the deep end.
So basically they need some kind of prescription to keep it at bay.
Exactly.
Wow. That's crazy to think about, like the human mind being able to do those kinds of things. Like you don't think of a dog having schizophrenia, but humans have like these mental things.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to deal with, Shawn.
That's true.
That's what happens when you're, the apex predator of the earth. We got our own shit to deal with.
Yeah, but sharks don't. You don't see a shark like having schizophrenia.
Maybe they do.
Maybe
that's why they bite people.
That's when they freak out. It's like the voices told me to eat the human.
All I heard was eat and leg and surfer.
Nom, 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 nom.
Despite constantly and openly taking extensive notes on the behavior of the staff and the other patients. So this is what these people are doing while they're in the hospital.
Okay. But they didn't give them paper or pen, so they had to like cut it in their arms. No, I'm not crazy. I'm doing research. Ow. 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 Oh, damn it. I misspelled that word. Ow. Ow.
Scratch. Does anybody have a bigger blade? So they were taking extensive notes on the behavior of staff and other patients. So that's what they did with their time in there. They were making notes on everybody, like observational notes, how they acted and stuff like that. None of the pseudo patients were identified as imposters by the hospital staff.
Yeah, I'd imagine you've got to seen just about everything. Like, I'm sure there's people that's like, no, I'm not crazy. I'm fine.
Yeah, but exactly. But what does that say? What if somebody actually, isn't crazy? Or even what if somebody is crazy and then eventually becomes not crazy? At what point do those people figure out, oh, he's fine, we can let him go?
Well, and you have to figure, too, like how many actual doctors are working there? The rest of them are just like, not even probably nurses, just glorified.
Yeah, they're basically facilitators of whatever.
Like, fuck.
You're absolutely right.
I'm working 8 to 5. Just take your pills, Greg.
Exactly.
So I can get the fuck home and look at clown porn because it's the only thing that brings me joy.
And then they slap him in the face a little bit. And then I'm like, no, I don't want that in my clown porn.
Yeah, unless it goes, They
hit him on the nose.
Then it makes me laugh.
Although, okay, so none of the patients were identified as imposters by the hospital staff, although many of the other psychiatric patients seem to be able to correctly identify them as imposters.
Who could identify him? The patients?
Other patients.
You're not crazy. I know what crazy smells like. You smell too pretty.
So the doctors and the people that work there are like, oh, Crazy Eddie's writing his notes again. He's probably, I bet when he lived in his house, he was one of those people that just looked out his window with binoculars.
Yeah, wrote all over his walls.
Right? Meanwhile, the guy that, stabbed 4 people in the foot because he thought that feet were a conspiracy by the man.
It's true, they are.
He's like...
Oh, are you talking about Eddie?
Yes.
I roomed with him for a bit. Weird dude. Yeah. I had quick feet, though, so... Always
had to wear shoes, even to bed.
Yeah. He didn't like socks, though. Weirdest thing.
He burned all the socks. Just open up the door, and there's a pile of socks in the middle of the room on fire.
Yep.
And he's like, I've saved our lives.
Thanks, Eddie.
I've saved us both.
Can I have your Jell-O? Yeah, you can, Eddie.
Pudding. Good thing. Well, now I don't have any socks. Good thing I have these flip-flops. No, not flip-flops. So the other patients are like, he's not crazy. I know crazy.
I wonder how they could tell if they really just... Maybe because they were too normal. Like, they knew, like, the doctors and the nurses and stuff like that, how they acted. So seeing, like, somebody just come in off the street made it seem exactly the same.
Yeah, maybe.
Isn't that kind of what happened in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Like, everybody thought that
it's been years since I've seen that movie.
Yeah, I think the main character, like, they knew he wasn't too crazy, but then he'd do stuff that was kind of odd.
Yeah, sure. I barely remember.
Yeah.
Actually, not barely. I don't remember.
Yeah, the book's better than the movie.
Oh, here we fucking go. In the first 3 hospitalizations, 35 of the total of 118 patients expressed a suspicion not only that the pseudo patients were sane, but some of them suggested that the patients were researchers or journalists investigating the hospital.
Nice.
So not only did they suss out that they were not crazy, they also figured out why they were there.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you could put me in, but make me an anonymous source.
Yeah. Also, tell them that I'm 150 pounds with a 12-inch penis.
Yeah, use it as my name, please.
Yeah, and it has tentacles on it with other penises. So that way I can be with like 9 women at a time.
Yeah, they call me Octopenis. Octopenis. Eddie, go back to your room.
I am not Eddie, Octopenis.
That just sounds fun. You can make anything up you want.
That's how we should get admitted.
If they listen to our back catalog, we probably should be.
We walk in and be like, you made an appointment. What is there seem to be a problem? No, there's no problem. I just want you to look at my octopenis and then just drop my pants. Like, sir, that's a normal. I mean, I say normal. It's
like a penis, but smaller.
I guess it's I mean, scientifically, yes, that's a penis. If we're going with a definition, yeah, let's call it a penis. For example, so the pseudopatients were sane. Hospital notes indicated that the staff interpreted much of the patient's behavior in terms of mental illness. For example, one nurse labeled the note-taking of the pseudopatient as, quote, writing behavior and considered it pathological.
Okay.
So basically saying that even though they were acting normally, they were saying that the normal behavior was a symptom of the illness.
Okay.
So the person taking notes about, the other patients and the staff and stuff like that, the one nurse labeled it as writing behavior, basically saying that, that's a symptom of their disease, is that they sit and write notes about everybody.
When Nurse Martha went over there and read it, and it said, Nurse Martha likes to steal everybody's pudding. She's like, oh, this dude's still crazy. Still crazy. I never steal anybody's pudding.
In the doctor's paper, he says all pseudo patients took extensive notes publicly. Under ordinary circumstances, such behavior would have raised questions in the minds of observers, and in fact, it did among patients. Indeed, it seemed so certain that the notes would elicit suspicion that elaborate precautions were taken to remove them from the ward each day. But the precautions proved needless. The closest any staff member came to questioning these notes is when one pseudo patient asked his physician what kind of medication he was receiving and began to write down the response. And then the doctor said, you don't need to write it. If you have trouble remembering, just ask me again.
Okay.
So nobody thought that the extensive note-taking was weird because they just assumed it was part of the crazy. The notes kept by pseudo-patients are full of patient behaviors that were misinterpreted by well-intentioned staff. Often enough, a patient would go berserk because he had wittingly or unwittingly been mistreated by, say, an attendant. A nurse coming upon the scene would rarely inquire, even curiously, into the environmental stimuli of the patient's behavior. She assumed that his upset derived because of his disease, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, not because of his interactions with the staff members. So if an orderly made a patient upset and then the patient got upset with the orderly and a nurse showed up, the nurse would say, oh, he's acting up because he's crazy.
Yeah.
And not saying he's acting up because this orderly pissed him off.
Well, yeah, I mean, who are you going to trust? Like the crazy person, I say crazy with quotes, or the person who's not crazy, who's the orderly? You're always going to take the orderly side.
Yeah, exactly. The patient's normal biographies were recast in hospital records along the lines of what was expected of schizophrenics by the then dominant theories of the cause. The experiment required the pseudo-patients to get out of the hospital on their own by getting the hospital to release them. So basically, they were saying that they were staying there until the hospital said it was okay for them to leave.
Okay, so they couldn't just leave on their own accord.
Right. But just in case, a lawyer was retained to be on call for emergencies when it became clear that the pseudo-patients would not ever be voluntarily released on short notice. Once admitted and diagnosed, the pseudo-patients were not able to obtain the release until they agreed with the psychiatrist that they were mentally ill and began taking medication. So in all the cases, they weren't allowed to leave until they told their doctor that they were crazy and they needed pills.
Wow. Well, that's the bad thing is because if they were on medicine while they're in there, like, what would that do to a sane person? Because that medicine...
That's the thing. I don't fucking know.
Because a lot of that medicine, I think, is supposed to pretty much, just suppress you. And put you,
like veg you out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because then if that doesn't work, then they do the old lobotomy where they take the thing, put it in your nose, and go...
Oh, God, how fucked up would that be? Like, say, Shawn, you're sitting there, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this experiment. And then you show up, and then you're like, oh, I hear voices, and I talk to them, and we do a show about funny stuff and eating beavers. And then you get admitted, and then they won't let you out.
Day 2, they're like, sit in this chair.
Yeah. Finally, they're like, okay, we have the cure for you, Shawn. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to cut your brain out. We're going to cut your head open and then remove a chunk out.
Oh, I'm not crazy. Like, I made it all up.
No, wait, I made it all up. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. And they're like, sure, you're not. Sure, you're not.
Here, bite down on this. This will hurt a lot.
No, I'm not crazy.
Tink, 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 tink.
Oh, shit. Oh, yeah. What movie was that? What movie was that where they did that thing? From Hell. Did you ever see that movie?
Well, yeah, it's a Johnny Depp one, right?
Yeah, it was a Johnny Depp movie where like they wheel somebody in and they're all knocked out and he just like has this little thing with a It was like looked like a
It looks like an ice pick, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looked like an ice pick, but it had like a crank on the bottom that determined how far out the blade went.
I gotcha.
And then he just sat there and just like did a little like hammer, had a little hammer on one end and just dink, like he's hammering a nail into somebody's head, just dink, and then pulls it out. Fucked up.
And now I can't smell meat.
Oh, well, I forgot maths.
God.
So they were all labeled as crazy, and they all had to agree with the doctor that they were crazy, and they all had to take pills in order to get. They all had to say they were crazy and agree to take medication in order for them to leave.
Man, so
even though they weren't crazy.
Yeah. So do you think this is just, I guess, like mass diagnosing people, or you think this is like some other kind of like, oh well, since I can sell more of these drugs, I'm making more money under the table?
I think it's the my thing is what I think it is if you're the assumption is if you're in an institution, you must be crazy. That's basically what all these people are assuming. Like they have to be crazy. Why else would they be here?
Yeah. Who would come here on their own?
Right. Seeking treatment for some sort of, thing that's going on in their life or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like saying, like, say you're you're feeling kind of down. Say you have like a bad month or a bad couple months, and you're just really depressed.
Your week, your month, or even your year.
God damn it, I hate you so much.
I'll be there for you
with a bowl full of pills.
So this might get me locked up, Richard, but I want to say this. I didn't really care for Friends.
Ooh.
Yeah, throwing it out there.
Shots fired.
I'm not a sitcom guy.
I can be. I mean, I watched it when I was younger, but I mean, everybody watched it.
Yeah, it was kind of it was a little bit before me, so my family didn't watch it.
Yeah, everybody watched it.
By the time I was old enough, I didn't watch it.
Because I was like 14, 15 when that show was around.
Yeah, I was like 8 or 9, so.
Good news is, Shawn, they were given the pills. Apparently they flushed all the pills down the toilet.
Okay, good.
And no staff member noticed that the pseudo patients were flushing their medication down the toilets and did not report patients doing this.
That's odd, because I always thought they did okay, take your pills, show me your mouth.
Well, I guess back in the 70s or whatever, they were just like, here, pills.
Yeah, they're like, what are they going to do? Flush them down the toilet? Who cares? They're paying for them anyway.
Well, on to the next room.
Eddie, don't hit my feet, you son of a bitch.
Even though in order to get out, they had to basically admit that they were crazy and agree to start taking pills. They didn't actually take the pills.
Yeah. I had relationships like that where I couldn't get out of them until I said that I loved them. They're the only ones for me. They weren't healthy.
And that's when they left.
They weren't healthy relationships.
No, they never are. I gotta go. Rosenhan and the other pseudo patients reported an overwhelming sense of dehumanization, a severe invasion of privacy, and boredom while they were hospitalized.
Well, they probably didn't let them have any books.
This is your Nellie Bly right here. I mean, not only are they saying, hey, even though we were normal, we had to say we were crazy in order to get out. They're saying that once they were, we were there, and the way they treat people is not that great.
So it's kind of like the old adage, like the best way to get sick is to go to the hospital. So the best way to go crazy is to go to a insane asylum.
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah. It's the easiest way, because once you get in, apparently you can't get out until you say you're crazy. Their possessions were searched randomly, and they were sometimes observed while using the toilet.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Yeah,
I don't like being watched on poop.
Yeah, me neither. I'm very private about that. Have you ever? Okay, have how many times has it happened where you're in the bathroom and then your wife just like walks in there because she needs something off the counter or whatever.
You know, honestly, my wife and I, Tiffany, we're a little bit too open about our bathrooms.
Really?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is she's too open.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now it's just like I'll walk in when she's pooping because she's like, "You see me poop, so I want to see you poop."
No, lock eyes. Look at me right here.
Sploosh. Yeah, that just
now
happened.
Finish. No, see, you wait until she goes in, and then you just burst in, and then just dead stare right in the eye, and you're like, "Go ahead,
poop. I dare you.
I want to hear it. I want to hear it. Want to hear the sound.
I don't smell you pooping."
Shawn, let's go for a car ride. We're gonna go to the hospital. They reported that though the staff seemed to be well-meaning, they generally objectified and dehumanized the patients, often discussing patients at length in their presence as though they were not there, and avoiding direct interaction with patients except as strictly necessary to perform official duties. It's basically like, you know, it's that whole thing, you know, you treat, you know, oh, it's cattle.
Yeah. So like when I was
sad.
like when I was a little kid and Dad would be like, "Laura, the kid's trying to watch me poop again."
He's making me stare him in the face, Laura. Do you have the number for that doctor? I don't think the lobotomy took. They need to tap a little harder on that forehead of his. That thick skull, Laura. Didn't you say you had to pass, like, when you were passing it? Like, it felt like a kidney stone? I'm just saying, I don't think they cleared bone. That's my point, Laura. A group of bored patients waiting outside the cafeteria for lunch were said by a doctor to his students to be experiencing oral acquisitive behavior psychiatric symptoms.
What's that mean?
I have no idea what that means. Apparently being hungry and loitering is considered a sign of mental illness.
You know, at 8 a.m., noon, and 5 o'clock, these guys just hang out here all the time.
That's
messed up.
Yeah. I don't like this. It's like a routine for them. I don't.
Oh, it's 4:59. I got to go get dinner.
Contact with doctors averaged 6.8 minutes per day.
Oh, nice.
So that's the only time they're with a doctor. They're with a doctor for less than 7 minutes.
So enough time to be like, "Okay, so how you doing? You doing? Yeah, I see you're taking your pills. Okay, yeah. So I'll see you tomorrow. All right.
Yeah. Doctor out. Don't forget to call me doctor on the way out.
Yep. Went to school, so MD, like it in the butt.
Yeah, I paid for that.
Well, you're paying for
Dr.
it.
MD, like it in the butt. This is a quote from the doctor. He said, "I told friends, I told my family I can get out when I can get out, and that's all. I'll be there for a couple days and I'll get out. Nobody knew I would be there for 2 months.
Wow.
The only way out was to point out that there," meaning the psychiatrist, "the only way out was to say that they were correct. They had said I was insane. I am insane, but I'm getting better. That was the affirmation of their view for me." And that's Dr. that's Rosenhan saying that himself. So he basically, that's the whole premise of the experiment. Basically, he was like, well, if people go in and, you know, and say that they might be crazy and they get admitted and then they act normal, do they just get to leave? And apparently, no, Shawn, they don't get to leave. They have to say, you have to say you're crazy in order to get out of the psychiatric hospital.
Well, I mean, if you're only seeing a doctor 6 minutes a day and the rest of the time you got the nurses and stuff just popping pills down you, yeah, it seems
that
like
aren't even checking because they're flushing them down the toilet.
Yeah. Well, this was at a time too where the institutes were kind of overpopulated, weren't they? Even though I guess they went to some that were and some that weren't.
Yeah.
So even the ones
despite all of this, like all these hospitals basically did kind of the same thing. Like even like the private hospital, the university funded hospitals, the public hospitals, all of them basically acted the same way. You have to tell us you're crazy and agree to take this medication, and then we'll let you out.
So if you're crazy, just say you're crazy, get your pills, and you can leave.
Apparently so, yes. So I guess that's good news for mental patients that want out. They'll just be like, yes, I'm crazy. Look, I'm numb. Okay, I can go now, right?
I'm going to go to the beach where there's so many feet. All right, Eddie, have fun.
He's such a good guy. I mean, now that he took his pills, of course. I mean, before he was woo wackadoodle. Oh, bye, Eddie.
All right, got a room free. Let's move somebody in. Turn and burn. That's what I say.
There was another experiment he did, and this is just a small one, and I'll end it with this. I'll say, for this experiment, he used a well-known research and teaching hospital, and apparently their staff had heard of his experiment.
Okay, so they're on the lookout for fakers.
Right. His staff had heard of the results of the initial study, and they claimed that errors like that could not be made at their institution.
Uh-oh. What happened at their institution?
So Rosenhan arranged with them that during a 3-month period, one or more pseudo-patients would attempt to gain admission, and the staff would rate every incoming patient as to the likelihood that they were an imposter. So Rosenhan, this hospital is like, fuck you, Rosenhan. Like, you're trying to say that, like, we're just a bunch of fuck-offs here.
They're making
and
T-shirts.
We're like, oh, everybody take your pills. Yeah, they make T-shirts, just fuck Rosenhan. Okay, so he's like, fine. He's like, let's do this. He's like, I will try to, send in people under the radar, and you tell me, the people you admit, you tell me, and then I'll tell you who's an imposter and who isn't, who's an actual patient. Okay, so out of 193 patients in that 3-month period, 41 were considered to be imposters.
Oh, wow.
And a further 42 were considered suspect.
So pretty much almost 50% were suspected.
Right. Almost 50% were suspected. 41 were considered to be I wonder if the hospital turned them away.
I don't know. Yeah, good question. So they
just open so we're sitting there, and let's say we actually have a problem. Like, we're sitting there, and then they open the door and be like, all right, we know the jig is up. And you're like, wait, oh my God, are you
the voice?
Are you them?
Are you the voice?
It's been you the whole time, hasn't it?
I'm not crazy.
Yay!
Empty thud.
Eat the beaver. Okay, so almost half. You're right. So 41 were considered to be imposters, and a further 42 were considered suspect. In reality, Shawn, Rosenhan sent nobody.
Oh, what a dick.
Right? Dick move. In reality, Rosenhan had sent no pseudo-patients.
So what happened is he forgot, and they're like, so we figured it out. We've got 82 people. He's like, oh, shit, sorry.
Yeah, so they open up the doors into his office. They're like, we got you, bastard. 83 people.
He's like, who are you guys?
Sent us 83 people. Oh, you tried to get one over on us, huh, you son of a bitch. But we figured you out. We sussed you out. And then he's like, who are you again? Oh, shit. Were we supposed to be doing that?
Oh, I forgot. Sorry.
Well, we were in a bar, and you were like, oh, we're all big and bad.
You had
and I was
T-shirts?
like, how about, I was drunk, and I was like, I'll send you some pseudo patients, and we'll see how you do. And then you were like, oh, we'll take that bet. And I was like, fine, I'll start sending them tomorrow. And then I forgot all about it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I took too many pills when I was in there. It kind of messed me up.
Wait a minute, did you turn sick people away?
No.
That would be terrible.
And immoral. I got to make a phone call.
All patients suspected as imposters by the hospital staff were ordinary patients.
Ouch.
This led to a conclusion that, quote, any diagnostic process that lends itself too readily to massive errors of this sort cannot be a very reliable one. Apparently, there was also a significant reduction in the number of admissions to the hospital, and this suggested that psychiatrists had been over-admitting before the non-experiment was conducted. So not only did they suspect 83 people out of 193, they're saying that total 193 was far less than what they admitted before it started.
So they started actually going down. So they actually kind of took their job more serious. Yeah.
Exactly. So there you go, Shawn. I thought that was a very thought-provoking thing. It also led me to believe that Rosenhan is an ass, but he's a funny ass.
Yeah, he's kind of like the ultimate troll.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Richard. Well, I guess before my pills kick in and before we got to close this out because, lights out and I got to go to the rubber room. Do you have any Richard's closing thoughts?
Don't judge a book by its cover. There you go.
Ah, that's good.
Just because somebody may be crazy, they might not be crazy. And also, inversely, just because if you think somebody's not crazy, maybe they are crazy. But you know what? I always go back to the words of the Cheshire Cat and saying, we're all mad here. Yeah, so are you, Shawn. But it's okay. We can podcast forever and ever and ever. All right. Wrap this puppy up. I got pills to take.
Okay. Let's see. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping. So visit our website. We're at languageofbromance.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're at languageofbro. Email us at eatthebeaver@languageofbromance.com. Check out the LOB Army Intelligence Report. Like us on Facebook. And go out and recruit somebody for the LOB Army Insane Asylum by getting someone you know to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or Stitcher.
And when you are visiting us on iTunes, make sure give us a rate and give us a review, because we are very shallow people and have horrible self-esteem, and we like to feel good about ourselves.
Well, the more reviews we get, that's when the doctor says I get to go home.
Oh, yeah, that's true, too. And that's not true. It's when you take your pills.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't need to take your pills, Shawn, because you can stay with me.
And if you want, my doctor says you should check out the Pod Bros Network.
Because it's the podcast site on the internet where we think everybody's okay.
It's the crazy house of podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a madhouse. A madhouse.
And if you want to throw a little bit of money in our tip jar, go to our Patreon accounts, www.patreon.com/languageofbromance.
Fantastic.
All right, Richard, was there anything else before I close her out?
No, they've already switched the lights off on you.
Okay, well, that's all the bromance we have for this show. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Richard.
And I say we eat the... Wait, I gotta finish. I gotta...
Say it.
Beaver.
Finish. Say it. Say it. He wanted to say eat the beaver.